Let's call the meeting of the fiscal court to order. Welcome everybody here this morning. I think we've had any guests that asked to speak before the court this morning. Does anybody? Yes, sir?
Yeah, Judge.
Or are you gonna?
I'm just gonna give you some
Well,
documents.
very brief.
Yeah, we'll have to-
Let us know. All right, go ahead. Use the microphone, please, when you come. They've asked that we do that. Gary, it's,
All right, sure.
so they can get it.
Okay, is it, yeah, let's see, I may have to get down on a knee. Okay, okay. All right, well, that's kind of hard for me to do sometimes. I just want Gary Vanderboe, Judge. I represent several nuclear workers here in Marshall County and all over western Kentucky. And we also represent nuclear workers all the way across the United States, Hanford, Washington, Savannah River, full scale. So I wanted to, we're following up, and we didn't mean to push back the presentation to McCracken County, but, Marshall County, but we just received approval from the McCracken County Fiscal Court, a unanimous decision. And we represent nuclear workers who have been wrongfully denied their nuclear worker claims, and medical benefits are very important to these workers. And I'm going to provide you, Judge, for your record, a copy of our press release thanking the McCracken County Board for their unanimous decision. I talked to Gerald Watkins yesterday, and they're planning on the same unanimous, hopefully a unanimous decision to support the investigation of the illegal denial of the nuclear worker claims. And we also brought you I also brought you Judge Terry's resolution, and we can schedule, I'll come back for a work session if you all would like to know more. Didn't want to call my claimants and have them come down here and step up. And Judge and I met with a couple of them a few months back, but just wanted to hand these over to you and get a chance to let you all review those. And
I did see in the paper where the McCracken County Fiscal Court had acted on a resolution, and that the city of Paducah was considering, I guess, pretty much the same thing. We will make copies for everybody to take a look at. Carlisle County, they passed theirs back in February, I think, of 2012.
I believe Judge, you might look at the Carlisle County date on that. I believe it was back in June. Ballard County was the first, Vicky Vineyard, and that they actually passed their resolution to include the names of their claimants. And we feel that's very important because we're representing people that have been denied. But we will also, some of the people won't even file a claim because they're being mistreated at the resource center, and they're basically helping some, but they're not helping all. And so what we've done is gone to the level of providing our claimants claims to the Department of Justice, and we have some good investigators in Louisville that are reviewing those claims, and we expect to have all of you come in. If they're paying one and you got 10 more just alike, they should pay all of them. So I don't appreciate my former DOE, DOL contractors at the plant doing all they can to make sure people don't get paid, and we're all from the western end of the state, and I don't think there's anybody in this room would want anybody denied their claims after they've been exposed to the material that's on that list right there, that document right there, and I'm going to give that to the judge at another date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
George Milam with the Arts Commission, Judge, and members of the court. I did not want to let this opportunity go by without just coming and saying thank you to you, Judge, and also to the members of the court for allowing the Arts Commission to use this space that we're sitting in right now for our performing groups rehearsals on Monday and Tuesday. The thing I'd like to inform you is that we have moved to another venue for a couple of reasons, because this room is experiencing a lot more traffic, and we've got a lot of pews in here that have to be moved each and every time. And also, one of our performing groups has outgrown this space, so we've had to go to another space. And so we are meeting those groups now in Benton Elementary School, but I wanted to say thank you and just ask for your continued support in our efforts. And we really appreciate what you all do. Thanks a lot.
And I think at Benton Elementary, you even have a stage, right, George? So that helps out a lot, but we were certainly glad to let you use our space here. Do you have an idea when construction is actually going to begin? I know we've had the groundbreaking, we've had a lot of anticipation, but
Thank you for the question. We've had the groundbreaking, as you said, and I think we did that in record time. If you remember how hot it was that day, Judge, we did it in about 12 minutes. And we had representative from each school in the county, student representative from each school in the county, also Christian Fellowship, and the Exceptional Center had representatives there, and also we had representatives from the homeschool community. And I think we had about 15 to 18 folks that were involved in the actual groundbreaking. We had to provide a lot of shovels, but it was a good event. But as I understand it right now, the contractor that's going to be on the project has submitted his final shop drawings to the architects for approval. They are in the process of that final approval. And I rode by there this morning and I didn't see anything yet, but it could be any day that the contractors are going to be moving on site and start making some noise. All right, thank you.
all right, let's move into correspondence from the Department of Energy and Environment Cabinet. This is from Deborah Conway. This is to our refuse board. Dear Mr. Newton, on August 30th, Lisa Evans met with Troy English and Jeremy Perrin to discuss the implementation of the Marshall County Solid Waste Management Plan approved by the division on October 22nd, 2007. I am pleased to inform you that Marshall County is in compliance with its 2008-2012 Solid Waste Management Plan. We believe your county has made progress and needs to continue to implement the solid waste management system as outlined in the approved plan. The participation rate for Marshall County is 99%. This is above the statewide average of 86.9. All haulers are required to register and report to the county the total number of households served and the tonnage collected by February 1st of each year. This is a requirement of KRS 224-43-315, sections 2 and 3. The county is commended for doing a good job on getting the hauler registrations for 2011. Record keeping in regard to the implementation of the 5-year plan is becoming more important. Documentation of milestones in the plan should be maintained. For example, an education file containing copies of newspaper articles, flyers, a list of school presentations, and other educational activities should be available to document the education activities. Cleanup records should be maintained to provide a cost accounting of when funding is made available for grants to qualified counties. We look forward to working with you to continue developing the solid waste management system in your county. Yours truly, Deborah Conway, Local Assistant Section of the Department for Environmental Protection, Division of Waste Management. We did have a big cleanup day over at the landfill on Saturday. Instead of doing different cleanups at different sites, we've decided to do on like 3 occasions a county-wide cleanup. I think we had something like 3,000 tires brought in, which goes along with our waste tire program. But a lot of people loaded up all their stuff and brought it in, so it was a very successful day. At the last meeting of the fiscal court, you asked me to invite Mr. Gary Young to our next meeting of the court. I did that by letter. I have a response from Tom Blankenship. Dear Judge Miller, Gary Young has requested that I respond to your letter dated September the 5th, 2012. Unfortunately, Gary is currently experiencing health problems such that he will be unable to attend the fiscal court meeting September the 18th, 2012. As soon as he is released by his doctor, he will be glad to attend the meeting. In the meanwhile, Gary wishes to express his opposition to widening Phillips Road Extended. As you may be aware, this is a dead-end road. The only people who should be traveling this road are the residents and their guests. The current residents are the Dennis Dunn family, the Scott Gibbs family, and the Gary Young family. Gary believes that because this is a narrow road, it discourages non-residents from coming on the road. It also encourages drivers to travel at slow speeds. Mr. and Ms. Gibbs have a young daughter who walks on the road every day to and from the school bus drop-off on Jackson School Road. Accordingly, slow speeds are important for her safety. Gary has lived on this road for many years and is unaware of any problems with safe travel. If you have any further information you wish for Gary to consider, you may send it to Gary or to me. This is from Tom Blankenship, attorney at law. The Hopkins County Fiscal Court has asked us to consider a resolution. The Hopkins County Fiscal Court and some of the other fiscal courts around the Madisonville area have done this. This is condemning the Patriot Coal and Peabody Energy. This is in regard to retiree pensions and health care. I think probably what I need you all to do is give you a copy of this, let you look it over, and if you have any questions, you can contact any member of the Fiscal Court of Hopkins County. They sent that to us with a request that we consider it, and I don't think, did I get that in y'all's box? I don't think I did. We'll get copies to you and have you an opportunity. Jeff, have you even seen it? Okay. We'll get copies to everybody. All right. Any other correspondence? Let's move into old business. You have received the minutes of the September 4th, 2012 meeting of the Fiscal Court. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the meeting? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. At a prior meeting, and in fact, we have two different roads that the people have expressed an interest in maybe forming a public road district in order to get their road brought up to standards. Both of these roads do not meet the current standards of the Marshall County Fiscal Court. There are statutory requirements. I think Jeff has laid this out. Jeff, have you met with those people? I know Russell.
No, well, not since they came before the fiscal court. This stuff was presented to them. I haven't seen them since then.
Well, I went back and asked the PVA. This is on, well, the name of the road escapes me right now.
Opal Lane?
Opal Lane, because one of the residents felt like there had been houses there for over 15 years. The first houses built there, according to the PVA records, were built in 2002. And there were two of them that were built in 2002. Rest came after that. So that is far below the 15 years, at 15-year
Yes, sir.
limit. So the only thing we can do is be glad to meet with these people and see if they would be interested in forming this taxing district. You've got to get a lot of ducks in a row. How many years? I think it's for 10 years, is it, Jeff?
I think so.
10 years that you add to your taxes. Now, we have given them, or I assume you have, Russell, your last numbers.
I give Mr. Lockett the last number on the phone.
Okay. And that was somewhere in the neighborhood of, how much do you recall? $120,000 to get it up to our standards. Now, that to be split between all of the landowners. If you stretch it out over a period of time, what you do in this instance is add it to your tax bill and have a special taxing district, or if they just want to do it themselves, get it out of the way, we get it up to our standards, and then we take it. But again, that will be up to them. What is this?
You told me to put on there about, you said we wanted to talk about something, it was Charlie's day, I think.
No. We,
What the other thing was.
we did advertise for a bid opening for a truck. Marshall County Fiscal Court will be accepting bids on a current model 1/2 ton 4x4 pickup truck. Bid specifications can be obtained at the Marshall County Road Department, 160 Homer Lucas Lane, Benton, Kentucky, Monday through Friday. All bids must be submitted to the County Judge Executive's office by 9 a.m. September the 18th. For more information, contact Russell York. Marshall County Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any and all bids. We have 4 bids. First bid is Leon Riley Ford, 99 North Main, Benton, Kentucky. And I'm assuming Russell will let you look to make sure that they meet all the specifications that you've asked for. Total bid, and they just have on there your cost, $26,690. $26,690. Next bid is Country Chevrolet. Country Chevrolet. submits a bid of $28,875.96. $28,875.96. Now, is this with trade-in, Russell? No, this is just, okay. From Parkway Chrysler. Parkway Chrysler bids 33,144. 33,144. From Parker Ford in Murray. Parker Ford and Murray bids $26,228.99. $26,228.99. What? Yeah, I just saw that. And I'm not sure, we've got two, all right, we've got two different trucks here. One of them is 26,228.99. One is 28,497.10.
One's a XL and one's a XLT.
I don't know the difference.
Me either.
Russell, would you look at these, make sure your specifications have been met? We'll get back to this later to make a determination. What is this ordinance?
That's our budget limit.
All right, we have an ordinance, a budget amendment. This is the second reading. This is ordinance 21207, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas the County of Marshall has received additional funds. Now be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County that the annual budget for fiscal year 2012-2013 is amended for a total increased revenue of $380,451.63. We will also increase the expenditure account by $380,451.63. The amounts added to the revenue and expenditures accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. We've asked that you adopt the second reading. The amendment to the annual budget, ordinance 212-07. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve the amendment, Judge.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Today, the 18th. we have a resolution. This is for the lease, the Keiko lease for the patcher, I think, that we just approved at the last meeting or the meeting before. This is a resolution approving a lease for the financing of a project, providing for the payment and security of the lease, authorizing the execution of various documents related to such lease, and making certain designations regarding such lease. Whereas the governing body of Marshall County, Kentucky, the leasee, has the power pursuant to Section 65.940 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes to enter into a lease agreements with or without the option to purchase in order to provide for the use of the property for public purpose. Whereas the governing body of the leasee, the governing body, has previously determined and hereby further determines that the leasee is in need of the project as defined in the lease hereinafter described. And whereas the governing body has determined and hereby determines that it is in the best interest of the leasee and that the leasee enter into the lease agreement, the lease to be administered by the Kentucky Association of Counties Leasing Trust, the program administrator, and funded by PNCEF or financial institution offering the lowest and best interest rate as selected by the leasee upon the advice of the program administrator, the leaseor, for the leasing of the leasee from the leaseor of the project. I don't know why I didn't let Jeff do this. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of the County of Marshall as follows. Section 1, recitals and authorization. The leasee hereby approves the lease agreement and all collateral documents to the extent defined and identified in the lease, each in substantially the form presented to this governing body. It is hereby found and determined that the project identified in the lease is public property to be used for a public purpose. It is further determined that it is necessary and desirable and in the best interest of the leasee to enter into the lease for the purposes herein specified and the execution and delivery of the lease with all representations, certifications, and other matters contained in the closing memorandum with respect to the lease, or as may be required by the leaseor prior to delivery of the lease. They are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed. The judge executive and the fiscal court clerk of the leasee are hereby authorized to execute the lease together with such other agreements or certifications which may be necessary to accomplish the transaction contemplated by the lease. Section 2, administration of the lease. The Kentucky Association of Counties Leasing Trust is hereby acknowledged to be the program administrator under the lease. Section 3, severability. If any section, paragraph, or provision of this resolution shall be held invalid or unenforceable for any reason, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this resolution. Section 4, the governing body hereby finds and determines that formal action relative to the adoption of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of the governing body, and that all deliberations of this governing body and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements. All ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict with the provisions of this resolution are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby repealed, and provisions of this resolution shall prevail and be given effect. This resolution shall take effect from and after its passage and publication and a summary thereof as provided by law. Introduced, seconded, and adopted at a duly convened meeting of the governing body held on September the 18th, 2012, signed by the Judge Executive of the leasee, attested by the fiscal court clerk, and indexed as provided by law. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve, Judge.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Do I have to do this one as well?
I think that's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. All right, uniforms. Emily, you've been looking into this?
I have looked into this, Judge, and I think in speaking with Russell, we would like to table it for a little bit longer to give him time to confer with the employees and see what their opinions would be regarding the matter.
Anybody have a problem with that?
No.
When are your uniform contracts up?
They were this month.
Mid-September.
So when do you feel like you'll have a recommendation for the next meeting, or?
I would think so. Russell has talked to the Airmark representative and said they would be willing to go ahead and provide them the same uniforms on a weekly rate.
There's only gonna be one contract, correct? Countywide contract for, I mean, that was my understanding when I canceled, where I put them on notice, is they had piecemealed it before. They had bid one, and then they came in and got some supervisors signed separate contracts. And my advice then was that this be one bid, one contract for all the uniforms.
Not, you aren't including the refuse district though, right?
No.
Just the fiscal court.
That would be,
Right.
their bid.
Right, and this would include the road department, the parks department, and the maintenance crew.
Yes.
For the only people that utilize the uniforms.
Right.
Okay.
All
And
right,
it could be bid together between the two districts, but that would be an action by both the fiscal court and that board.
all right, is there any other old business coming before the court? All right, let's move into new business. Sanitation District Number 1, the end of the year report. This is from Brenda Landers. It's here for anybody's review. Of course, Sanitation District Number 1 is our small sanitation district out in Aurora. We still struggle. We did receive a grant from the Delta Regional Authority. However, what's our status with the area development districts? My understanding that something wasn't turned in. Do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check with Mark or Jasper.
Well, this is something I don't want to fall through the cracks. It's very important to that district to make some of the improvements, you know, we really need out there. And I certainly don't want a little technicality to do anything to slow that down. The report is here for everybody's review. Sanitation District Number 2, we do have a opening on the board with the death of Mr. Tucker. Your other two board members on Sanitation District Number 2 are Randy Travis and Ray Bargy. And we now have an opening, and it has to be a property owner, as I understand it, business or resident that lives in the service area. That kind of confines it to Draftonville. But be thinking about that. If you know of anybody who would be willing to serve, it's kind of a thankless job, but certainly one that's needed. I have the sheriff's audit for the year ending December 31, 2011. Also, we have the county clerk's audit for the year ended December 31, 2011, for anyone's review. They send those from the auditor's office to the press?
Yes.
They send those, okay. Okay. We have an ordinance This is in regard to the Arts Commission. This is ordinance 2012-08. We have an ordinance and a resolution. This is an ordinance approving a lease for the financing of a project, providing for the payment and security of the lease, creating a sinking fund, and authorizing the execution of various documents related to such lease. Whereas the governing body of the Marshall County, Kentucky, the leasee, has the power pursuant to Section 65-940 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes to enter into lease agreements with or without the option to purchase in order to provide for the use of the property for public purpose. Whereas the governing body of the leasee, the governing body has previously determined and hereby further determines that the leasee is in need of the project as defined in the lease hereinafter described. And whereas the governing body has determined and hereby determines that it is in the best interest of the leasee that the leasee enter into a lease agreement, the lease, to be administered by the Kentucky Association of Counties Leasing Trust, the program administrator, and funded by the bank, financial institution, or finance corporation, offering the best interest rate and terms to the leaseor as selected by the judge executive upon the advice of the program administrator for the leasing by the leasee from the lessor of the project. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, Kentucky. Section 1. The leasee hereby approves the lease agreement in substantially the form presented to this governing body. The recitals to this ordinance are incorporated herein as if set forth in this section in their entirety, and are hereby found and determined to be true and correct. It is further found and determined that the project identified in the lease is public property to be used for public purposes, that it is necessary and desirable and in the best interest of the leasee to enter into the lease for the purpose herein specified, and the execution and delivery of the lease with all representations, certifications, and other matters contained in the closing memorandum with respect to the lease, or as may be required by the leaseor prior to delivery of the lease, are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed. The judge executive and the fiscal court clerk of the leasee are hereby authorized to execute the lease together with such other agreements or certifications which may be necessary to execute the lease together to accomplish the transactions contemplated by the lease. Section 2, pursuant to the Constitution of the Commonwealth and Chapter 66 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes as amended, the obligation of the leasee created by the lease shall be in full general obligation of the leasee, and for the prompt payment of the lease payments, the full faith, credit, and revenue of the leasee are hereby pledged. During the period the lease is outstanding, there shall be, and there hereby is levied on all the taxable property in the leasee, in addition to all other taxes, without limitation as to rate, a direct tax annually in an amount sufficient to pay the lease payments on the lease when and as due. It is hereby found and determined that the current tax rates are within all applicable limitations. Said tax shall be and is hereby ordered computed, certified, levied, and extended upon the tax duplicate and collected by the same officers in the same manner, and at the same time that taxes for general purposes for each of the said years are certified, extended, and collected. Said taxes shall be placed before and in preference to all other items for the full amount thereof, provided, however, that in each year, to the extent that the other taxes of the lease are available for the payment of the lease payments and are appropriated for such purpose, an amount of such tax upon all the taxable property, the leasee shall be reduced by the amount of such other taxes so available and appropriated. There is hereby established or is acknowledged that there has heretofore been established with the leasee a sinking fund. These funds derived from said tax levy hereby required or other available taxes shall be placed in the sinking fund, and together with interest collected on the same are irrevocably pledged for the payment of all obligations issued under the general obligation statutes and all tax-supported leases as defined in the general obligation statutes, including the lease herein authorized, when and as the same fall due. Amounts shall be transferred from the sinking fund to the leaseor at the times and in the amounts required by the lease. Section 3, the administration of the lease. The Kentucky Association of Counties Leasing Trust is hereby acknowledged to be the program administrator under the lease. Severability. If any section, paragraph, or provision of this ordinance shall held to be invalid or unenforceable for any reason, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this ordinance. The governing body hereby finds, determines that all formal actions relative to the adoption of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this governing body, and that all deliberations of this governing body and its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were in meetings open to the public in full compliance with all legal requirements. All ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance are to the same extent of such conflict hereby repealed, and the provisions of this ordinance shall prevail and be given effect. This ordinance shall take effect from and after its passage and publication of summary as provided by law. Is this the first reading or second?
First.
All right, this is the first reading held on September the 18th. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the ordinance and resolution, Judge.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Also have a resolution This is a resolution of the County of Marshall approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the County of Marshall, Kentucky and other related parties thereto regarding the Kentucky Association of Counties Interlocal Finance Corporation. This also is in conjunction with the Arts Commission. Jeff, do I have to read all that?
No, I can summarize it for you. What this is, as he said, it's the resolution that would allow the county to enter into this interlocal cooperation agreement with, there are some other counties that are already in it, which, and the Attorney General's office, the Walton Fire Protection District, Shelby County are the other ones that are involved in this, and it's just an interlocal agreement setting that up so that they can participate with the CAECO Financial Corporation. And it's already been signed off on by Attorney General and Secretary of State.
All right. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion, Judge.
Have a motion to pass the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, our animal shelter report. I have two reports, one for July and one for August. In July, we had 114 animals taken in, 56 adopted, 8 reclaimed, 26 euthanized, and at the end of July, we had 107 animals in the pen. At the end of August, we had 156 animals brought in, 35 dogs, 53 cats, 40 kittens, 28 puppies. Adopted 108 out, euthanized 64. Pens in the animals in the pen as of August 31st, 86. We just continue to get a lot of animals in. They have had real successful adoption drives in the last couple of months. We had two out in the park, one down at the co-op store. I think another one is scheduled for.
It's upcoming at the co-op as well, Judge.
Okay, it's at the co-op. So we're continuing to do everything we can. So far, we have not had a lot of problems with the implementation of the fee system
No.
that the court put in. Time will tell.
Judge, I do have a contract for them that Jeff suggested I bring before the court for their database. We have a contract I would like the court to authorize the judge to sign on behalf of the shelter staff. This is the database we've been talking about. There was a $200 deposit, and there is no annual fee as long as you participate in the microchipping program and offer the free shelter insurance, and that's at the adopter's preference as to whether or not they keep that insurance, but the staff felt like they had no problem complying, which would make the usage fee $0. This will give us the database, Judge, that you've been talking about, where you wanted to be able to track all the animals that came in, as well as ownership, and be able to formulate the reports that you've been asking for. Right now, all that's done manually. This will allow them to utilize the database and be much more efficient in their paper processing, as well as their intake and outtake. So this is the contract, and they have both looked over that and felt like they could comply with it. And additionally, for those of you that have been listening to the reports, there is a definite spike in August in the euthanization rate, but as you'll recall, we had mentioned that we had a couple of issues where we had people who, I hate to use the term, but basically it's hoarding one residence, there was 45 cats euthanized. And that's what we had spoke of. At last tally, it was over $600 that this one case alone had cost the county. And that's one of the reasons we implemented the fee, was to prevent things like this from happening, or at least to attempt to make people responsible, because the cats were not able to be saved. They were in such poor condition. And things like that's happening more and more often. I don't really know why. There's a complete explanation of that whole program, Judge, for you to look over.
And this is a total cost of $200?
$200, and the staff will have to comply with microchipping. They will have to increase the adoption rate to $20. Most people, if you go to an adoption drive, it's anywhere between $12 and $20 to have a pet microchipped. Every animal that leaves the shelter will now be microchipped through this program at a cost of between $5 and $6. They're going to have to look at how they want to implement that fee schedule as to whether or not they want to make it a $20 or $21 fee. But anybody that's kept up with shelter issues knows that we get repeated incidences of the same animals coming in. So all they're going to have to do is scan it. They'll immediately know where to get it to, and we won't have wardens making 5 different calls out to a neighborhood. You'll be able to scan it. I would like to have the wardens have the microchip device with them, which will prevent them from even having to bring the animal in. They scan it right there on site. They make contact with the owners, and it's going to prevent a lot of duplication that we're seeing now. So we've been working on this for some time. The board's been looking at this program, but we wanted to make sure the staff were on board and fully comfortable with operations before they move to this next step, and they feel like they are.
All right, you've heard the request, expenditure of $200 for the animal shelter. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve this.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second. And do we need to amend that, Judge, to allow you to sign on the contract on behalf of the shelter? Do we have to have a motion to that effect?
I thought that was the motion.
That was the motion.
Okay. The $200
Right. That's part of the
is the
contract.
deposit, and then the contract itself is separate. Does
Yeah,
it
as
need-
long as
so it covers.
if that motion.
The
included.
contract is free, yes, if you participate in microchip. I just wanted to make sure that we had that spelled out somehow.
All right, you have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Figure out what I gotta say. Budget appropriation transfers, Emily? Our treasurer's report first.
August 31st, 2012, general fund had a book balance of $225,466.91. Road fund, $1,142,536.38. Jail fund, $3,645.45. The grant fund, $6,526.87. 911 fund, $192,039.92. Occupational tax administrator, $1,031,220.09. Veterans van fund, $2,106.58 for a total of all funds, $2,603,542.20.
Do you have any questions of Emily on the treasurer's report? I will entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit.
Make that motion, Judge.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. I might point out, Kenton County, Garrett County, and 2 or 3 others, got some correspondence in the other day, are looking at ways to shore up their 911. Apparently, we're not the only county going through this problem. I thought it was quite interesting, some of the things that they're looking at doing. But I'll try to get some more information and share that with you. I thought it curious that in Kenton County, they were looking at putting a $85 per property, per piece of property, an additional $85 on your tax bill. And I thought, wow, that seems to be a lot with a county the size. Garrett County and some of the others are looking at utilizing utility bills. The utility companies, of course, are not liking that at all, so I'm sure there'll be some court cases if this goes further, but needless to say, we're not the only one that's having to subsidize their 911, and everybody's scrambling because monies are getting tight. All right, let's move into a budget appropriation transfers.
Last year we did these budget appropriation transfers on a monthly basis because we had a lot more accounts going negative more often. I'm glad to say that I'm planning on openly having to do these quarterly. We only had 3 accounts negative this quarter. The Board of Assessments needed an extra day to deliberate. That caused us a $100 overage out of each of their line items that we were unable to anticipate. I was able to cover that out of the public defender allotment. Their bill was $3,766. That's a KRS mandated bill. We had originally budgeted $4,000, so that left $234. So I'm asking to move $200 of that leftover balance to cover the $200 overages for the Board of Assessments. And then under other building repairs, we had $2,820 that we didn't anticipate. That was for the Judicial Center architect fee that carried over into this fiscal year. We didn't have that budgeted for this fiscal year. Thought we would have all that taken care of last fiscal year. So I did take that out of the general fund reserves. That took our reserve balance in general fund down to $72,083.90.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the budget appropriation transfers?
Make a motion, Judge.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Accounts receivable.
As of yesterday, Judge, the Sheriff's Office owed us $556,135.93 in payroll. County Attorney's Office owed $77,7225 for payroll, for a total owed of $563,908.18.
Are we still anticipating the tax bills to be out October the 1st?
Yes, I got an update yesterday, Judge. I think the sheriff's out of town, but the 28th they'll be going out. Payment will begin October the 1st.
They have not shared that with us, so we didn't know exactly. All right, we have one item, personnel item that been asked to consider. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Call the court back into regular session. We have had a vacancy, or do have a vacancy, at the animal shelter for a weekend person. This is a part-time position, taking care of cleaning and feeding on Saturday and Sunday. The committee has been talking about it. What was the young lady's name?
JoJo Hollis.
The committee has recommended that we employ on a part-time basis JoJo Hollis to fill this position, but also we take a look at also getting a backup person, at least in line, I guess, in case she has to be gone or family obligations or whatever. So if there's no objection, or I would entertain a motion to allow our kennel staff to hire JoJo Hollis as a part-time employee. Do I hear a motion?
Make that motion, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Russell has reviewed the bids that we have on the pickup truck. Russell, what's your preference?
Leon Riley Ford and Parker Ford was the two cheapest. Parker Ford was like $460 cheaper. So,
The apparent low bid was Parker Ford of Murray. Second was Leon Riley Ford of Benton.
Is that close enough to where we can tell him?
I think so. I'd recommend that we stay in the county judge for the 400 and difference in like $460. If there's any warranty work or anything, it could be done over there. Of course, it could be anyway, but I'd prefer to keep it in the county if we could. I'd make a motion that we accept the next low bid for Leon Riley Ford.
Second.
We have a motion and a second that we accept the second low bid of Leon Riley Ford of Benton, justified by
Yes, sir.
well, you have to
Justified by-
justify, if you're not gonna take the low bid, you gotta justify it.
Right. And I
I
think
think
that
what
was in the.
Bobby said is because of maintenance, warranty work, and what have you, being a local dealer.
Yeah, I think that is the justification.
That is your justification,
Yes.
Mr. Gold? All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the second low bid for the reasons that have been reported. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes are getting weak. Motion carries. October court dates. Fall break will be the first week in October. A lot of people are going to be gone, so it has been suggested, and with no objection, we will change our October meetings to the second and fourth Tuesday, which would be the 9th and the 23rd. 9th and the 23rd of October. Okay. We've all had an opportunity to review the bills.
Motion to approve the bill, Judge.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other business come before the court?
Judge, I do have a transfer report that I had forgot to have put on the agenda.
Let that be the last time you have something at the last moment come before this court, Ms. Martin.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I need to make some bank transfers. The book my book balance already reflects this. The state incorrectly deposited our county road aid into the 911 fund instead of the road fund.
Now, this happened once before, didn't it?
Yes, they
We
did
had
this
to-
last year, yes. It's $220,768.17. I need to move that on the bank side from 911 fund into road fund.
Now, is this the bank doing that or the state?
The state is
I mean, this
telling
is
the
something
bank
that-
to put it in that account, and I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
it
they're
happened last year and you like never got straightened
Right,
out, didn't we?
yes.
We had to mess around.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're having to mess around a little bit now.
Okay, well, let's get it done now. while
Yes, I need approval for that, and then also, this is something I already did, so you can slap my hand if you want to. I moved 14 cents from the occupational tax fund to the general fund to close that fund, so we will not have any more tiny interest deposits in that account.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of Emily.
Make a motion to approve both those transfers.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Emily and her staff last week attended a state conference and I guess things continue to get more complicated as we move into things. We have asked, and we've always let the state tell us who we're gonna use as, who's gonna audit us. We don't pick them ourselves, never have. But all of a sudden, they're sending people from Louisville, when we've got a local firm, people who live right here in our community, that audit Carlisle, Ballard, Hickman, Fulton, Graves, Callaway, other counties. So we've even asked that they consider them for us. Doesn't mean they will, but it appears to me when we're having to pay somebody and pay their mileage to come down here and pay their meals, I don't know what all we have to pay. When we've got these people living right out the road here, and everybody that they audit seems to be very, very satisfied with them. The state's satisfied with them. But up to this point, we haven't been approved.
Yeah, the auditor's office, when I contacted them about it, they, as a general rule, are supposed to come to the counties and ask them if we wanted to participate with their request for proposals to the other firms to bid out our audit. And always in the past, we have done that. This year, we did want to at least get a quote or some type of consideration from the local firm. However, when I called the state auditor's office, they said that they had bypassed asking us if we wanted to participate in the RFP process, so they went ahead and bid us out anyway. So we won't be able to utilize the local firm this year, and next year we're scheduled for a state audit. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the state staff and how thin spread they are. So, but I think it is something that in the future that we will be looking at is the option, at least considering the option of going with a local firm. And also, Judge, in relation to going to our occupational tax conference last week, something that the state is moving towards is mandating that all counties accept a standardized form. I don't feel like we have any issues with that form. Something else with the conference that I'm kind of excited about is that Lissa Gibson is going to be our president for COLA for next year. She's Union County's judge and or treasurer, I'm sorry, and she's actually going to probably locate the conference here in Marshall County next year. We actually have an appointment this afternoon to meet with the Kentucky Dam to see if their place would be conducive for the conference next year.
Okay. Any other business come before the court?
Judge?
Yes,
I'd like to remind everybody, Saturday at the park, the VFW and their ladies auxiliary will be having the POWMIA Memorial Service. That's at 10 o'clock out at the park on Saturday.
Is it 9? Is it 10 or 9? 10 o'clock. I'm supposed to be there at 9:30. That's why I had that on mine. Yeah, that's a very moving ceremony. Those of you that didn't get an opportunity, Aurora Ross opened their fire station, had their public viewing last Saturday. It is absolutely gorgeous. For the first time in a long time, they've got plenty of room. Bob, I think you and I were both out there, maybe all of you were. I was just so impressed with their facilities that they have there. Like Chief told me, well, he said, we don't have another ice storm. I said, don't even bring it up, Chief. But if we do, they have facilities there where they can cook. They have a big generator. They can put people up. I mean, it's really something to be proud of, and I know the people of the Aurora Ross area are proud of it. So if you get a chance to go by there. Any other business?